Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and happy rainy Tuesday. For some of you, that means that you are not here on campus. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a quick lecture video of the material we covered in class, because especially section 5 of notes 3, very important when it comes to the benchmark, multiple answers to questions there. So we're going to open up the notes, and we're going to go to notes number 3, section 4, Germany invades Soviet Union. Now, where we left off yesterday, when it came to the beginning of notes 3, was that Hitler grew his empire, that eventually he's going to sign a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union so they don't go to war with each other, and that he starts taking all the countries in Europe, including France falling, and eventually the Battle of Britain, where he bombs and bombs and bombs England until they're about to surrender. But they don't surrender. They had that poster that we talked about yesterday, that propaganda poster that said, "Keep calm and carry on," because Winston Churchill understood that they were the last one, the last line of defense, so they couldn't give in. And before Hitler could finish them off, he decided to do something else that ultimately would be a massive mistake, and that is that Germany invades the Soviet Union. So in April of 1941, he gets out of Britain after six months of bombing it, but not finishing them off, and he takes his armies around and he goes east to the Soviet Union. So he's going to launch his attacks from his side of Poland into Leningrad, Moscow, and Stalingrad in Operation Barbarossa. This is going to be a massive attack. There's going to be over 4.5 million soldiers attacking and invading the Soviet Union. Hitler thought that that Stalin would eventually betray him, so he better do it first. It's a brutal, brutal battle that we talked about, the Battle of Stalingrad, where 2 million are going to die in 5 months. Again, this is the bloodiest battle in history. But ultimately, what will defeat Germany will not be the Soviet military, because the Soviet military was just surviving. They were surviving until the thing that will defeat Germany comes. And what is that thing? It's this. Now, when you look at that, that looks kind of pretty, almost beautiful. But it might be beautiful if you're inside a cabin and there's a fire going and maybe you have a hot cup of hot chocolate in your hands. Then maybe this looks beautiful. But if you're sleeping outside in a tent and you're a soldier and you're fighting a battle, this is not beautiful. This is destructive. And both the Germans and the Soviets knew this was coming. The Soviets realized when winter comes, it will destroy the Germans. The Germans realized if we don't finish off the Soviet Union before winter comes, it will destroy us. And that's why the Battle of Stalingrad was so deadly, because they just kept throwing soldiers at the situation, hoping that they could win or survive before this winter came. And what this results to is you have to fight if you're stuck in here. And that's what it's going to happen to Germany. Because they attacked in April, they were about 2 months later than they should have. They should have gone in February, but in February they were still attacking Britain. And because they attacked 2 months later, they should have done in February, they started in April, they had 2 less months of fighting. So they fought in spring, they fought in summer, they fought in fall, and then this came. And this is painful to have ice everywhere, as you can see with this picture, that even ice on the eyebrows. And this is what you're supposed to fight in. This is what you're supposed to defeat the Soviet Union in. And it led to you having to fight this way. In this case, they're just marching. But even the picture as you're looking at it, because it is a path that they have to follow, because if you go here in the snow, you're going to be in 2 feet of snow and you'll be walking super slowly. It puts all the soldiers all lined up. So if the Soviets are attacking, they're easy targets and they can't just run away because the snow is so high. It went to the point where they had to issue skis, like you can see in this one. But if you're traveling through skis, can you fight in this? Can you turn around and take a machine gun and start shooting in this? And then the tanks, because the snow getting hard, it turns into ice, the tracks won't work. So now they got stuck. This is an easy target for the Soviets to be able to destroy those tanks. And if you're this soldier right here who's in this little bunker with ice and snow all around you, it is difficult to win a battle when you're this cold, when your fingers start feeling numb, and if they keep going that way, you might have to have them come off because of frostbite, or your toes the same way. And having to fight in snow, run in snow, everything is just more difficult. And that's why I said that this picture is actually really scary instead of really nice. And the Soviets knew this was coming, so they just had to survive. And they did. And the Germans will be defeated. One big thing that happens when the Germans are defeated is that the U.S. starts to begin to help Stalin when we start opening a war mart to him. Now, why would we help Stalin, who we consider to be the bad guys? Is that quote that we talked about before, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And since now we both have Germany as our enemy, this allows us to start helping Russia and build their military much, much stronger. And they start hitting Germany and pushing Germany back and back, closer and closer to back to Germany. Section 5 starts off, so was all this going on, all these different countries being invaded, all these, the empire built by Hitler, the bombing in Battle of Britain, and the attack of the Soviet Union, what's the U.S. doing? Well, officially, we're neutral. We're not getting involved. We open a Walmart, and we're not getting involved. We are serious this time. But that's kind of more of the message of the American people. They didn't want anything to do with the war. But when it comes to FDR and the government, they can't just pretend that Hitler doesn't exist and that he's not going to be a problem in the future. So they started doing things that if you're a country, say like Japan, that if you're paying attention to what we're doing, not what we're saying, that you could see the U.S. as a potential enemy. So the U.S. is going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things in that time period that if you're Japan, you might start looking at the U.S. a different way. First thing they did is Congress started to increase defense spending for the Defense Department. Now, what is the Defense Department about? It's about war. So if you're the U.S., why are you building more ships, building more airplanes, building more tanks? Why are you building, getting more weapons if you say you're truly neutral? Now, an answer could be, well, just in case in the future we do go to war. And if it was just one thing that the U.S. did, maybe that excuse would work. The problem is it was this, plus this, plus this, plus this, and this. Now, what are the next two? The next two have to do with weapons. So we passed the Neutrality Acts in 1935, which said we're serious. We're not opening a Walmart. We're not going to get involved. And then they passed cash and carry. The cash and carry program essentially broke the Neutrality Act. So we are going to sell weapons, but only if you follow these two conditions. And what are the two conditions? One, you have to pick up the supplies. You cannot, we will not take it to you. So as long as you come pick them up, whatever you buy, we will do it. And 2, you got pay in cash, no credit. All right, so the cash and carry was us breaking the Neutrality Acts, and but only if that country came and picked up the weapons and they brought in cash. So again, if you're Japan and you see us building our defense department for going to war when we say we're neutral, and now you're selling weapons to their enemy, they start looking at you the wrong way. And then we did Lend-Lease, a modification to the cash and carry program where we still will sell weapons, but the whole pick them up and only in cash, that goes out the door because now we will deliver it to them. So we will deliver the supplies to them and they could pay in credit. So they don't have to bring cash and they don't have to pick them up. Now the deliver part is a huge difference. Why? Because if we have to deliver the weapons to England, we're going to Europe to deliver the weapons. Now, what is Hitler supposed to do and Germany supposed to do when they see our ships heading toward England with weapons that are going to be used to kill them? Obviously, they're going to attack. And if they attack us, we have to defend ourselves. And what does that look like? Where we're fighting Germany in an actual battle in the ocean. That doesn't sound like a neutral country. So this made Japan start looking at us and Germany look at us more of an enemy than a neutral country. So again, we started spending a lot of money on the Defense Department, then selling weapons, but only if they pick them up in cash. Now we're basically giving it to them. And then we do the fourth thing, the selective service system. What is that? We start drafting soldiers. But again, the reason you draft soldiers is because you're going to war, but we're neutral. So what are you drafting soldiers for? Plus, this ended up being the first ever draft during peacetime. Because again, we're not at war, we're neutral. And this is another message that we were getting ready to war, because you can't just say, oh, we're drafting soldiers just in case, when you're already doing the Lend-Lease Act and you're already building the military. And the last one that pushed it over the edge to basically see that Japan saw us not as a neutral country but their enemy was the Atlantic Charter, which was a secret meeting between the U.S. and Britain in terms of this is going to be Churchill and there's going to be FDR. If this was not a declaration of war, but it was them making plans just in case the United States do go into the war, exactly how would it work? And if you're Japan, you would ask the question, U.S., if you say you're neutral, why are you meeting with our enemy? Why are you making any type of plans? So if you're Japan and you see them building the military, then selling weapons to your country, to your enemy, but at least they have to pick them up and bring in cash. And then they later on, nah, you don't have to pick them up and you don't have to pay cash. It could be, we'll take it to you and it'll be by loan. And then they're drafting soldiers for, again, a war that they say they don't want. And then they have secret meetings with your enemy, the British. What do you see here? Do you see a neutral country? No. What you see is your enemy. And what do you do to your enemy? You attack it. And this is one of the reasons why they attacked at Pearl Harbor. Their attitude was, you're acting like a country who's about to go to war, so we're not going to let you keep doing it. We're going to bring you into this war when we want, and we're going to hit you hard, so you come into the war limping instead of full strength. the day after Pearl Harbor, all throughout the United States, there was people who had this feeling of, how come they attacked us? Why would they wake a sleeping giant? We've done nothing. But if you pay attention to all the things that they were doing, it was pretty clear they really were neutral. And the Japanese had 5 different justifications here why they could attack us. All right? Hopefully that makes sense.